Yeah. What number are you? Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I've got time for our meeting to start. Welcome to this morning. We've got a full agenda. I appreciate everybody's being here. We're going I'm going to adjust our agenda a little bit as we get into our meeting, but I'll let you know about that. I think all the bills are in your folder. I'd like to ask Vice Chairman to open us up with a prayer, Joe. Thanks.
Father, we just thank you for this day. Thank you for this day you've made, and we thank you for the opportunity we have to serve the state of Georgia and you all at the same time. And we pray that we seek your guidance in all that we do, and we just come to you with thankful hearts. In Jesus' name, amen.
Thank you, Vice Chairman Campbell. First up on the agenda, we got Senator Kay Kilpatrick. Thank you for coming back to the Ag Committee. You made some changes to the bill we heard last week, and if you could fill us in on those. So welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Always happy to be back in front of the House Agriculture Committee. You have a substitute bill in front of you based on our discussion from last week. And at the request of the Veterinary Board, I have asked Legislative Council to change the code section that we're referring to, and you'll see that on line 12. It's now in 42.1. And so I have word from the Veterinary Board and the Georgia Veterinary Medical Association and the county governments that they're all fine with it now. And what it does is create a 6-month temporary licensure to help us alleviate the backlog of spay and neuter services for our shelters and our rescue organizations. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, I want to make sure everyone's on the correct bill number. It's SB 410 LC 442717S.
That's correct. Thank you.
Okay. I see a question. Representative Perkle.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This bill has been debated thoroughly. The changes are wonderful. At the proper moment, I'd like to make a motion.
I hear the motion. Is there any other questions from anybody on the committee to the senator? All right. We got one question. Representative Carter.
Thank you. Good morning. Just a quick question. So I see municipal animal shelters. Will this also cover counties?
Yes.
Oh, great. Thank you.
Okay, we have a motion by Chairman Perkle. Do I hear a second? Got a second. Any other discussion, questions? All in favor, say aye. Opposed, like sign. Motion passes. On to House Rules.
Thank you very much.
Okay, get all the paperwork done. Next, Representative Cannon. Have you asked to go early this morning? You've got other things, busy? That's okay with me. So, fill us in on this bill. Now, my understanding, your first bill last year was HB 545. Is that right? Your very first bill.
That's correct.
And now I hear you back trying to undo it, fix it, or I mean, is this going to be a pattern here?
Mr. Commissioner,
I'm just trying to
a rookie
understand.
mistake.
I know you were freshman last year, and maybe still called a freshman. Is that
yes, sir.
the terminology? So, and then
apologize.
wants to go early in the meeting. So, okay. The podium mic is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members of the committee, good morning. I have House Bill 1237 LC 442692. This is a Department of Ag requested cleanup bill. for the Citrus Commodity Commission. As you may recall, as the chairman so eloquently stated, I carried legislation last year that established the Citrus Commission, so it's not quite a year old yet. In that original bill, it defined a citrus producer as someone that owns or operates at least 5 acres of citrus fruit-bearing trees. And soon after the new Citrus Commission was formed, they determined that it would be much easier for them to quantify tonnage or weight instead of production acreage. So that was their request through the Ag Department. So what this bill does is simply just remove the definition of what a citrus producer is under the commodity title, and which is where it defined it as a citrus producer by acreage. And by doing this, it'll give some flexibility to the commission to spell out the definitions of what is required to be a citrus producer in the marketing order rather than in the code. And that this method exactly mirrors that of the Blueberry Commodity Commission. Here's a copy of the Blueberry Commodity Commission marketing order. And just it's outlined in yellow. It says this order shall apply to all producers of blueberries within this state that produce 2,000 pounds, 1 ton of more blueberries that are commercially packed and marketed annually. So they want to spell it out in marketing order as opposed to the statute, and that's basically the genesis of the bill. Yield for any questions.
Okay. I see a question, Representative Perkle.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Is it not true that I read this bill 6 times while you were explaining what it does?
The gentleman knows of what he speaks.
Thank you. Good bill at the proper moment.
Okay. I see Commissioner Harper's here. I appreciate his presence here this morning. Does he need you to help? Does he need to help you with this bill any this morning, or you think this committee understands this bill?
I think I'm good, Mr. Chairman. I thought you were talking to the commissioner. I'm sorry.
Well, I think it's pretty straightforward, and crossovers next week. I would entertain a motion if everybody's comfortable with this bill, just it's not doing it. Do I hear a motion? Yes, got a motion, got a second. Any other discussion on this update to the citrus bill? All in, yeah.
He had a part in this bill that was making him the official taster for the wine commission. I don't know if that come out. Why did you take that out?
I can't comment on that one.
Well, we got a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Hear none. Motion passes. On the rules.
Thank you, Mr.
Well
Chairman.
done.
Appreciate it.
We are not going to hear HB 981 today. That has been put off. HB 908, Mr. Ridley, he has got a sub to that bill that we cannot find. So hopefully tomorrow, Representative, we can find the sub and get it on the agenda for tomorrow. You'll have to get with Anna or Grace in our office to try to track that thing down. Yes, sir. Okay, I'm sorry for you to be here, but we don't have it in the and the sub makes substantial some changes to it for the better, and it's a good sub. Looking forward to hearing that tomorrow. Okay. So that brings us down to HB 1286. Oh, let me also update HR 1135 on your agenda here. We will not be hearing that bill till after crossover. It's a resolution, and I inadvertently put it on the agenda, and we got plenty of time to hear that. So HR 1135 won't be heard until after crossover. Representative Corbett. Chairman Corbett, excuse me. We have HB 1286.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. I bring before you this morning HB 1286, LC 550231. Make sure everybody have that in our packet. Is that what we have? 0231. Okay, thank you. Well, this bill is at the request of the Department of Ag. Last year, Chairman Perkle had a similar bill that did not make it through the Senate that dealt with fees, testing, labeling of hemp products. House Bill 1286 deals with the fee structure. The testing and labeling will be handled in other measures. It's going to come before this committee at a later date, probably tomorrow, hopefully. But, you know, I attended, as I think the chairman did and other members of the committee over the summer, a meeting at the Department of Ag. And they presented, you know, us with the issues that the Department of Ag has when it comes to regulating retailers, wholesalers, manufacturers, while the growers and the processors are covered in existing law. The retailers, wholesalers, and manufacturers are not. So House Bill 1286 and the other measures to follow will give the Department of Ag the ability to ensure that what is being sold in stores actually meets the legal description of what a hemp product is. So we'll go through the bill real quick if you want to. Section 1, basically got some cleanup language in Section 1. Section 2, we get into definitions. 24, we talk about what a consumable hemp product is. Line 43, we talk about definition of a hemp grower's license, what that means. 62, definition of what a manufacturer is, and in 63, the manufacturer's license, what that means. Then 77, the definition of a registered laboratory. Then 86, the definition of a retail consumer hemp establishment license. 91, the definition of a wholesale consumable hemp license, what that means. So that's what we are defining new in code. Section 3, again, is just some cleanup language. Section 4, we start to get into the meat of the bill and what we are doing. And we list what, you know, several things that shall be unlawful for any person to basically, in, you know, line 39, process hemp in the state unless they have a permit issued by the department, to handle hemp unless they hold a hemp grower's license or a processor's permit or a manufacturer's license. That was in line 141. And 145 shall be illegal to sell the consumable hemp products unless they have a retail consumer hemp establishment license. 148, shall be legal to sell any consumable hemp product in this state to a retail establishment unless they have a wholesaler's consumable hemp license. 152, it shall be legal to manufacture hemp products unless they hold a manufacturer's license issued by the department. Then 155, it's illegal to perform tests in this state unless they are registered with the department in a registered laboratory or is employed by a person who is registered with the Department of Ag. 160, 163 is an exception for colleges and universities. It carves out that where they're able to do research on these products. So that's a request of our research universities in the state. 164 through 167 basically goes through the penalties if someone violates any of these rules, and then what the civil penalty could be on 172 is up to $5,000 on that. Section 5, basically no license shall be issued in what we add in 155 and 188 to anyone that's been convicted of a misdemeanor or a felony for involved in trafficking of a controlled substance related to a federal controlled substance within 10 years. And I think that meets federal guidelines on that. Then on 2000, no permit will be issued for the same thing if they've had a felony or a misdemeanor within the last 10 years for the same offense. Line 205, we're lowering the processor's fee from $25,000 to $10,000, which is much needed. We're going to Section 8, and this basically we talk about the applications for a retail consumable hemp establishment license, and it goes through what needs to be on the application. And then in line 268, it sets what that fee will be for that retail consumable hemp establishment license. It could be $250 up to $4,000, and that will be set by the department. Then in 274, basically if you've got separate locations, each location will have to have a separate license. Then section 9, we talk about the applications for a wholesale consumable hemp license, and then the form and what has to be on that form. Lines 299, we set the fee at $500 to $10,000, and that's again established by the commissioner. And then line 306 to 311, each different facility would have to have a different license there. Section 10, we get into the applications for the manufacturer's license, what has to be on that form that they have to fill out. Then that fee for the manufacturer's license of $5,000 on line 330. And then each separate manufacturer's facility would have to have a separate license. Section 11, and then we get talking about the lab, registered labs in the state, and then any person desiring to perform in the state test or analysis, they have to do a one-time registration fee of $250. Then get on 351, we're talking about as far as the registered laboratory, the form, what has to be on that form for the laboratories to fill out. And then, like I said, we talk about the rest of that is the lab, and then I think on the last part, 382, I talk about is they provide a disposal if they get a product that is over the legal limit. They set the rules on how they dispose of those products if they do not meet the legal requirements of hemp, how to dispose of that. And that's basically what we're doing in the bill. I know that's quite a long explanation, but that's what the bill does, and we're just trying to give the department the tools they need to address the issue that we seen during that meeting during the summer. I mean, a lot of these, you can go to any gas station you want to and buy a product that's labeled CBD or whatever, and it have up to 18-25% THC in it. So this gives them the ability to license them, and in the following bill we can certify and that it's what they say it is. And I'll turn it over to Catherine with the Department of Ag or answer any questions.
Well, thank you, Chairman Corbett. I appreciate all your work for a long time on these hemp bills. It's been rather an uphill battle, but thank you, and thank you, Catherine, with legal counsel with the Department of Ag, has worked very, very hard on multiple hemp bills, and we've got Chairman Perkle's got a bill in committee as well that we need to hear, and so thank you. I'd love to hear from you. Commissioner Harper's here. We had many of y'all could not attend the meeting at the Department of Ag back in December. That was very thorough and just an excellent meeting that really highlighted the need for these bills that you're going to see coming from the Senate and the House to try to get our hands around these retail products that are in our stores that we don't know what's in these products, strength of them, and Catherine, would you like to say a few words?
Yes, thank you so much. Good morning, committee members. Catherine Russell with the Department of Ag. We just sent around a handout, the big green sheet. It's actually from the PowerPoint that we presented in December. Just to clarify for everyone, currently the department has regulatory authority over the first 2 of those 5 bubbles, and that represents the hemp economy. So right now we can oversee growers and processors, but that leaves the remainder completely unregulated. And that's what we're trying to address here. And so what we're trying to do with this bill is to create a way for us to have a list of who all is operating in those spaces. So that's why we have the retailers, and that's why we have the wholesalers. In addition to that, we created kind of a new tier, what we're defining as manufacturers. These are different than processors. Your processor is going to take a raw product, and then they're going to create a distillate that you take from there, which is a resellable product. But we have people operating as manufacturers, which means that they import distillate from out of state, and then they apply it. In some cases, they just spray apply it to something else that they already have. And they are not processing hemp. They're just manufacturing a consumable product at the end. So we've created a new category for them. We created a registry for the labs so that the Department of Agriculture can be sure that the labs that are going to be submitting that we will authorize to have the COAs available that's associated with testing will have an ability to keep up with who they are, make sure that we have a trusting relationship there. Some of the questions that we got yesterday, we have a pretty wide range in some of those licenses, and that's on purpose. What we plan to do, which is a very common practice for us, actually, in other licensing regimes, we're going to create multiple tiers, probably 4, and that's going to be based on volume. Because one of the things that we're interested in doing is, some of these, like, let's take wholesalers, for example. They're going to be moving, some of them will be moving a tremendous amount of volume, and they're going to require a significant amount of oversight. But it's also possible that you've got people who are just entering into the market, and maybe they aren't operating at the same level, and we certainly don't want to deter them from being cooperative and participating in the market. So that might be a little bit of an explanation for some questions that you may have. And also, with the manufacturer's license, that does not apply if you already have a processor permit. So we have processors who are currently doing both of those roles, and we're not interested in doubling up on fees for them. But I think I'll stop there before I get myself in trouble.
Okay, thank you. We have some questions from committee members. Representative Cameron, you have a question.
Thank you. My question, I think I have a quote-unquote manufacturer in one of my communities, and would this allow for them to be like periodically surprise inspected to see if they're spraying distillates that are not in compliance? Because I think that's what's happening, but I can't prove it. Those kind of things. So either from the Department of Ag or from law enforcement.
So we have a companion bill that we'll hear tomorrow from Representative Perkle, and that's going to speak specifically to the enforcement powers, but that is the direction that we intend to go.
Okay.
And the reason that these bills are split is because last year the House did a great job moving, I think it was HB 437, and then it got held up in the Senate. So I was trying to separate things, so whatever was easy for us to agree on, we could go ahead and pass, and the things that are more controversial, we'll separate those out. So that's why you'll see that in 2 bills.
All right, thank you.
Representative Mathis, 27.
That was me.
Okay. All right. Chairman Meeks.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Catherine, with the labs, will there be the opportunity for the labs to share with the department which products they are testing that may be over the limit for the department to ensure that those products actually don't make it to market?
Yeah, yes, of course.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Representative Campbell.
Thank you, Chairman Dickey. So it's my understanding from what you're saying, all regulations to do with hemp, the selling of it, everything is going to be under the Department of Ag.
I'm trying to think of an exception before I say yes.
Yeah.
I think as long as it qualifies as hemp, sometimes it goes from hemp to marijuana and back.
Yeah.
And so, yes, we would, yes.
So it's under y'all. So it's now moved to under the Department of Ag. My question is, what about licensing? Where does that fit in this? Does that go in as a process, as a regulation too, or where is that?
So this would provide that the licensing happens in the Department of Agriculture.
So Department of Agriculture will be over licensing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Thank you.
Chairman Leverett.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for this bill. This is obviously quite a bit of work and detail here, and
Your predecessor done this to me.
well, it must have been good then. He chose well, didn't he? I think this message is maybe more for Catherine. So it looks like from looking at the bill, currently you have a hemp grower license that covers both growing and processing?
No.
No, okay.
No, there's a fair amount of cleanup language in here. One of the problems is everywhere that it referenced licensing previously, it was assumed that that was a grower's license. And now that we have more licenses, we had to go back in and change some of that language.
see.
And there's one section that you might be looking at that was written pretty narrowly, only contemplating growers and processors, and we had to kind of rearrange
Okay,
some of
all
that.
right. So you've already got then grower and processor licenses, two separate categories of licenses that the department currently issues. And now you're adding to that manufacturing, wholesale, and retail sales. And you're also regulating testing as well, because people will have to register in order to perform the testing.
Well, the testing's not in this bill. That will be tomorrow.
Just set up a fee structure.
This is, yeah.
And the form they have to fill out for it.
Well, there is some registration requirement in here, isn't there?
I apologize. What was the question?
The registration form, the form they have
Yes.
to fill out.
Yes, there's a registration. I apologize, yes.
Okay, all right. Well, and I think it makes sense that you would do that. Otherwise, how do you know that you're getting accurate information as part of your, so I think that's a great piece of this legislation. And so thank you. I'm a little new to this and want to make sure I kind of understand what the current situation is and how you're sort of trying to further delineate and get on top of these issues. So thank y'all for the bill. Thank you for your efforts with regard to this industry. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Representative Lewis Ward.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would imagine that some applications may be denied, and from looking at the forms and the questions that you are seeking answers to, we're not asking for any demographic information. So how would the department answer the complaints or calls that say that maybe the applications are not being distributed equitably?
Well, the intent behind having the licenses is to create a list, a registry. It's the intention right now is not to deny licenses. Now, we would want to reserve that right if we have a bad actor, particularly someone who, or an entity that we've maybe taken corrective action against, either criminally or civilly, multiple times. And if it becomes obvious that this is not an entity that we can work with, then revoking a license may be something that happens in the future. But the intention behind issuing licenses is not to deny folks. It's to have a better understanding of what's actually happening in our state.
Follow-up question, Mr. Chair? In terms of knowing how many women apply or how many African Americans apply, how are you tracking that information?
Well, we were not asking that information. We didn't consider it to be, we kind of were planning to treat each applicant equally. But if you would be interested in us recording that data, that's definitely something that we can be amenable to, and we can actually probably do it in our rules and regulations. So we wouldn't have to change code, but we can make sure that it happens if it's important to you.
I think that's something that the Ag Department would be able to respond to if you got calls and complaints regarding who is applying.
Okay, thank you. That's good. That's a good
And finally, on line 393, it says until December 31st, 2022. Should that be updated?
I'm sorry, hold on just a second. Line 393, so that's existing code.
Oh, okay.
And the only thing we're doing in that line is adding the descriptor to the license to make sure that it's clear that that only applies to a hemp grower license.
Got it. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay. Excuse me. To my neighbor, Representative Stinson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and Thank you, Chairman Corbett, for your work, your continuous work on hemp. But my question is just relating to line 15, where it mentions enable the department hemp grower license and universities to promote the cultivation and processing of hemp and the commercial sale of hemp products. As it relates to universities, is there any way that we can be provided with information of how well these universities are working in this hemp area? Because Fort Valley State University is in my district, and I don't ever hear anything about what's going on regarding hemp in that area from Fort Valley State. So I didn't know if there was any accountability or way to keep track of what the universities are doing as it relates to hemp.
So on line 15, we're just looking at existing code, and we're adding the descriptor hemp grower in front of licensees. But if your question is about oversight of universities, I think that might be something that could be addressed. We have a third bill, because that'll be the fun bill, with some of the more controversial. Maybe that's something that we could incorporate there, but nothing in this bill addresses the universities. We're just addressing the existing code and trying to conform it to the licensing.
I understand. I just kind of really wanted to highlight that there is a concern from me about the universities, and in engagement with this hemp product, and just being accountable and just making us aware of how they're engaging and what they're tracking, what they're doing as it relates to hemp, because that's kind of my purpose of my question. So
Can we discuss after?
Sure,
Okay.
absolutely. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Chairman Perkle.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I was thankful that Representative Stinson was able to get her Fort Valley State, or plug in her question. But at the proper moment, I'd like to go and make a motion.
Okay. We got a couple more questions, and then we have some people signed up to speak to the bill. Representative Bennett.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning, and not to belabor the question, because I'm new to this, and Representative Lewis Ward brought up a good point. Are there any compliance processes in place to review what's going on with this whole hemp economy? Is there any compliance issues or review or accountability, and is there a report to come back to the House at some point?
I think in existing code, there are some, I apologize, no, I'm about to misspeak. There's nothing in this bill that requires a report to come back to the House. I will say that we are currently having meetings, or trying to have meetings pretty regularly to keep everyone advised. I think in December, I gave a 4-hour lecture, which was terribly boring for some people. But I would say that it's the commitment of the department to stay involved and to give feedback at any time requested.
Okay, we got one more.
And to add to that, Mr. Chairman, we have 0 processors left, 1 processor left in the state now at this time. So,
let me make a comment if I can. My concern, and I want to speak for commissioners here, we don't have a hemp growing problem in this state. We got a hemp retail products problem in this state. And I really, really appreciate the department commissioner trying to take on this problem. It's a huge problem that I encounter on a local level in my community, and I think all you do too. If you hadn't opened your eyes, these hemp products, final consumable products, are unregulated, untested. Nobody knows what's in them. They're pushing the limits. I think a lot of them are illegal, over the limit, and that is what we're trying to get to with multiple bills from the department this year. And I hope y'all will be supportive. I'm very supportive, Commissioner, tackling this problem. It's not easy. It's complicated, and we have not moved the needle on this thing, on this problem until now. We're trying to do that. So that is what this bill, that is what Chairman Perkle's bill, that's what some Senate bills are all about. I hope we can get them over the line and do what we want to do with them. We're certainly open to changes and to adding or subtracting from these bills if you have concerns with any language. But I think that's what we're trying to do. And if y'all want to keep these products, try to make them safer for our young people and public, that's what we're trying to do. So, any other comment?
If it's appropriate, Mr. Chairman, I spoke with Sarah from SJ Labs this morning, and she planned to come and to testify, but had to return home for a sick child. And she left a letter that she would like for me to read into the record. Would you like for me to do that at a later point when we receive testimony, or do you want me to do it while I'm sitting here?
Representative Thomas, we got one more question that I'll allow from the committee. Representative Thomas, and then we'll go to some other people to speak. And if the commissioner wants to speak to this, he can.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you for bringing the bill, and thank you for having the meeting this December. It wasn't that boring. It was long, but it was good. So 2 questions, and I think you may have already said it. So the testing can only be in Georgia, correct? They can only.
So that is actually not established in this bill.
Okay.
This just requires that the department license labs that meet our standards, and that will include certain ISO certifications, DEA certifications, availability for our inspectors to go confirm that what's happening in the lab is actually happening, and that they haven't produced any what we call dry labbing, which is just falsification of results. So, and then maybe a couple more that we work out in rules and regs. But we aren't restricting it to geographically, but we are are going to have high standards. And right now, there's only one lab in Georgia that would meet that.
Thank you.
Okay. We got a couple of people who want to speak to this bill. Let's go ahead
Okay. Thank you, Chairman.
And hear from a couple of folks. Wesley Dunn, would you come to the podium, Mike? Thank you for being here. Look forward to hearing your comments on this.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I will be very brief. First of all, I'd like to thank the Commissioner and his staff for bringing these bills with you, and Chairman Corbett and the signers of the bill, and this committee in general. I've been working on hemp legislation starting in 2010 with the 2014 Farm Bill, and through the process we've had here in Georgia. Our initial law was flawed. I think the people in the department at the time didn't really like hemp and thought it was marijuana, and our original law made it almost impossible for anybody to be successful. Comment I would like to emphasize: we don't have a grower problem, but we have a product problem because we don't have a processing industry in this state. We've got one left out of initially 6. And one of the setbacks of that was the initial $25,000 fee. And the Commissioner's office has been very willing to talk about that, and the $10,000 is better than 25, but I would encourage y'all to maybe not necessarily change that today, but work with the Commissioner and try to come up with a fee that's more reasonable to get more processors there, because the growers don't have a market now. I think you'll see that there are many acres less being grown than we had initially. A lot of people were very enthusiastic about it initially, but there's no place to sell it anymore. The processing facility we have, I've toured, they have gallons and gallons of distillate sitting around they can't do anything with. So all the product we're getting in that causing a problem is just coming from out of state. And I think there's a person here today that represents wholesalers, and we represent retail dealers, some growers, and I consult with the processor. But I think they would agree that products they're sending in are tested and okay, but we're getting a lot of stuff from out of country, and some illegal products coming in from out of state because we're not able to process the hemp growing here, so our farmers can't grow the acreage they need. So I think it's very important that we set policy starting here and through the commissioner's office, and I believe we have a commissioner staff in the ag department now that's very much intent on bringing this industry where it ought to be so Georgia could become a leader. So that's, as for the retailers, we fully support the establishment of the registry. One of the problems the ag department has now in enforcement, they don't know who's selling it. So by having retailers be registered, they know the locations that are supposed to be selling it. If they're not registered and they run across something, they know that's not legal, but they'd have the ability to go out to these other establishments and test material. They know what it is, and if it's stuff that doesn't meet the THC limit for hemp, they certainly can take care of that. So that's everything I got to say about it.
Thank you, Mr. Dunn. I appreciate your expertise on this and your efforts through the years around the Capitol involved in this hemp issue. I appreciate all your information and help to me through the years on it. And are there any questions from Mr. Dunn? Okay.
But it's
Thank
delightful to see a commissioner and a staff that is intent on making this industry thrive in Georgia. You know, we've got the best agricultural state in the country, I believe, and now we've got somebody that is going to support policy that makes this product come forward and our farmers thrive. And it all starts with the farmer.
Okay, we got one other speaker on the bill. Chuck McMahon. Is he here? Okay. Please introduce yourself and tell who you're with.
Sorry for my poor handwriting, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. My name is Chuck McMullen with MCO Group, and my firm represents Georgia-based hemp retailers and wholesalers. And we fully support the Department of Agriculture's administrative package, including House Bill 1286 and Chairman Perkle's House Bill 1127. We would like to thank Commissioner Harper and his staff for working with the industry. They've been fantastic, and we really support this effort. And I want to make sure this is noted as I represent Georgia-based retailers and wholesalers. So we fully endorse this measure. Thank you. Happy to take any questions.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
This is our first hearing on this bill. We have a meeting scheduled for tomorrow that I would entertain a motion probably tomorrow if there's no concerns with this bill. But let's take a day, take any input, and we can come back tomorrow. We got a couple other bills we need to hear tomorrow as well. So thank you, Chairman Corbett and Catherine, for being here, Commissioner, and thank you. And we're going to try to go to one more hemp bill. Chairman Perkle has been also working on this issue. You want to say something? No, I said you're going to stay. Okay, great. Our expert in hemp. And so we're passing out Chairman Perkle's bill. It just hit our committee here in the last few days and did not have a chance to get it on our agenda or in the packet, but it's House Bill 1127. And I'm so glad we got members on this committee that know a lot more about hemp than I do and got a lot of passion for it. So let's finish getting this out. Thank you, Grace, for getting this printed at the last minute. I tell you, I've got a great team between Anna and Grace here and in my committee, so thank them for being able to pivot at the last minute. HB 1127, Chairman Perkle.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I got to tell you, it's hard to follow the godfather of hemp with his hemp bill. This actually should have been the first one, but he is the most favored nation status, so he gets to go first. I see he's by my good friend, Chairman Gunner. Introduced myself this morning to him, and he actually told me he's on ag. I didn't know because he hadn't been to a meeting this year. But so I've got 1127. I should have said that after we vote on the bill. So most of you have actually seen this bill. So this is the bill that I had last session, streamlined. So we've all looked at this bill. We know what it does. So I'm gonna hit the high points. I'm not gonna go into the granular detail that Chairman Corbett did. So because we have seen what this bill is and what it does. So in Section 1, it provides the Commissioner with authority of enforcement in Title 16, which is actually where the hemp bill is. Section 2 is definition. Section 3, if you'll turn over, is the meat of the bill. So it requires consumable hemp products to have a full panel certificate of analysis. It allows the department to set limits on contaminants. If you recall, the bill we had last year had like 2.5 pages of it shall not exceed, 10 parts per million of acephate and, 1 part per million of whatever. This allows the department to set limits on contaminants and requires some truth in labelings. And this is what this is about. We need to know what's in the stuff that we are consuming. And right now we don't. We got products that are rejected from California and Colorado that's coming in, flooded the market. They're bad products, and we have no idea what's in it. Nobody has authority on who is going to go in and randomly sample and test and find out it's bad and get it off the shelf. That's what we need in this state. Requires truth in labeling. So either you put it on the label or you give them a QR code. Also requires a warning label. I'm sorry, Chairman Leverett, I got a little aggressive there. It allows the department to randomly inspect and seize non-compliant items. So this provides for the department to actually enforce the stuff that we need to enforce. Sections 4 and 5 are only cleanup language requested by General Counsel or Legislative Counsel. And Section 6 is super important to me. It prohibits the sale to under 21 individuals, and it provides for enforcement therein. This mirrors the alcohol provisions that we have in our code section. This is so important. We've got kids that go in and they'll picking up these things that look like Skittles. And I got to tell you, so in years past, I have gotten some wonderful peach jelly beans from the chairman up here. And those are the cat's meow. But a kid, so I'll eat like 2 or 3, maybe a little more from time to time. But a kid goes through the whole thing. And if they go into a convenience store and they see something that looks like Skittles, now if they were reading, they would see adult usage 1 per day. And they take 4 or 5 of these things because they look like Skittles and they get sick. Under 21, keep them from buying this stuff. And enforcement powers. That's the bill. You've already seen it. I thank you for your consideration and please vote for it.
Thank you, Chairman Perkle. Any questions from the? What's the move? I got a motion. Everybody good? Very well done. So I got a motion. I got a second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you, sir.
Very good. Ladies and gentlemen, we got through bills very well today. We've got a couple more tomorrow. Representative Evans has got a sub to 486 that we've got to get, and I think that really improves her bill. Representative Stinson, I hope you'll take a look at that. Appreciate your expertise on that. Representative Lumsden, I think, has a sub to his bill coming that we're waiting on. And Representative Leverett, you'll have a sub possibly tomorrow. We also, if needed, I think Grace has a room reserved for Monday if we need to. Crossovers next week, so we're up against some deadlines here, trying to get bills moved to rules. So that's our status on our bills. Thank y'all for being here this morning. Thank you for your support. I think we got some good bills moving to rules. Anybody else in the audience have anything to come before the committee? Thank you for being here, Commissioner. Appreciate your work and department on all these bills. Very important, state of Georgia. Meeting adjourned.